We have enough to go.
Yeah, we're good to start. All right. So the first up, reserve, mail and reserve fund transfers.
Mail, I did not come in front of you.
This one?
I lied. That's tonight's,
Okay.
but we have another one here that came in, and 2 beacons, and a zoning thing, nothing really super.
Okay, so this is the Capital Planning, Conservation, and Finance Committee. Talent Bank form from Anna Grace Raddick, who has indicated interest in serving on your committee/commission. Sent to you to discuss. Okay. So, have everybody read this.
Just wanted to make you aware.
Okay, then we received from the office of, actually, I guess I should call the meeting to order first, right? All right, so we'll call the meeting to order at 7:05. We're being taped by Area 58. We'll quickly do the mail and reserve fund transfers, then we'll get to our meeting with Mr. Gavin. All right, so doing that over again. So we have the Talent Bank form from Anna Grace Raddick. This is the Capital Plan, Conservation Commission, and Finance Committee. So did you give it to everybody or just me?
Just, we have one copy of it, so
Okay,
one in every.
so I'll pass that around. Then we have from the zoning office, from the Office of Zoning Board of Appeals, their meeting schedule. So we received that. And then, any reserve fund transfers?
Nothing.
Okay, so we have our meeting with Mr. Ed Gavin. You want to come on up? How you doing? I'm Gordon Andrews, I'm the chair.
Nick Newton, nice to meet you. Julianne Crawford.
Mel Conroy and Stu Hall.
And we're missing tonight Linda Braga. So you put on the Talent Bank form, Capital Plan and Finance Committee. And then you wrote to the Board of Selectmen, I have associates degree in business along with 20 years of private and 6 years of public experience assessing a department needs both present and future, along with developing a budget and developing a plan to meet said budget. I would be very interested in helping and serving my community in any of the committees I've chosen. I look forward from hearing from you. So first of all, I'd like to apologize for rescheduling the last one. that was that late. So usually, how familiar are you with the Finance Committee? Not.
I wasn't seeing us at the town meeting, the regular town meeting.
Okay, so the Finance Committee is tasked with developing a budget that is balanced funded budget, and basically we meet every other Monday, usually from the end of May until January, and starting in January we usually meet every Monday night. Each person is assigned a department or a couple of departments to talk with and go over their budget. We can be the liaison to that department head, basically. Then we spend a few hours every Monday night going over everyone's requests, looking at the total that we have for taxes, whether it be from personal and property tax to local receipts to free cash. Anybody else? What am I missing? Okay.
I'm very tired.
I guess what's your main interest in joining the Finance Committee?
Like to help the community, see what I can do, see where the money goes, and like I said, serve the community. I've had an interest in doing it, just never had the time to do it, so.
Good. Monday night's an issue for you, or?
Sometimes it would be, I work as a firefighter, my schedule changes.
Okay.
It rotates, so
Okay.
it depends on, how they fall, but
Okay,
At some points, I would imagine there's going to be a conflict.
okay.
Okay, are you a firefighter in Halifax?
Used to be.
But not right now, because I think that's a conflict. If you're not in Halifax, okay.
6 years ago, I left.
You guys want to say anything? Any questions, or do you have questions for us, like what the, I mean, it is a big time commitment, so just want to warn you on that.
Oh, right, and we decide amongst ourselves who takes which departments as liaisons, but some of the departments are only available to talk to us during the workday. Do you have any kind of flexibility on when you can communicate with departments?
We work 8 days a month in my
Oh.
schedule, so
Hey, that's great. Better than mine.
so other than a 3 and a 5-year-old, that's, you know.
No, well, that'll keep you happy.
What else? I think we're all off tonight, huh? We haven't met in a few weeks.
It'll take a while to hit straight.
So coming up, the next few meetings, we're basically going to discuss what tax revenue is going to be available for the upcoming year and what the committee feels is appropriate to try to spend to. We also have free cash money that we usually work with the capital plan. So they'll come up with a list of items throughout the town that they think should be funded, and the finance committee tries to find the funding for those items.
I guess for me, what do you think the strongest thing is that you can bring to the table?
As I said, I have 20 years, I used to work retail, had goals and budgets you had to hit every year. Hit mine pretty much all the time. And was a good way of doing that. And I ventured into the private sector here, working with two prior chiefs ago, helped organize the department for the ALS department, figuring out the budgets, what items we'd like to purchase, prioritizing that, being there for the chiefs, letting them work through it. Imagine to you folks or your predecessors, as to prioritizing what we need, what I think we need to make the department work. So I think both privately and publicly, I think I have a good background in seeing how both works, and I know the difference between a wish list and a needs list.
Very good.
That's good. Are you on any other committee or volunteer or anything in town? Okay. Have you had a meeting set up with the selectmen to interview with them yet?
For this, no.
Okay. Okay. So,
I was getting emails from someone.
okay.
Kendra?
That's me.
Kendra?
And phone call.
Yeah.
Not through the email.
No, that was our cancellation last
Yes, and
minute, so I didn't want you
I hadn't checked
to,
my email yet. I saw it after.
I didn't want to respond, I didn't want to rely on just emails. Not everybody sits on it like I do.
Is there any changes that you think the town needs to make, or anything the town does good that you want to see continue?
At this point, I would say it'd be a pretty uninformed decision, so I'd probably wait and
Okay.
see how things go. I don't think that I would have the knowledge yet to make a decision
Okay.
with that, so.
Okay. Do you regularly attend town meeting?
Yep.
Okay. It's always the question that we ask.
Sometimes I miss the special ones, but if I'm not working, then I usually turn there.
Gotcha. Anything, you guys? Any questions for us? Okay.
We're normally much more lively.
Okay. Well, anybody else want to say anything? Charlie or Sandy? We're really quiet tonight. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Maybe Kendra can ask Pam to set up a meeting with the selectmen at their next available time.
So does it know the process, or does it?
Oh, yeah, so the process is you meet with the finance committee, you meet with the selectmen, and then there'd be a vote taken. Now, I believe this is Peg's term that she was reappointed for, so it would be a majority of the finance committee and the selectmen that make it to the meeting would vote on the appointment. And the appointment would be until 2018 at this point in time. I think that's, would be the term that you'd be filling.
Okay.
So it'd be a 2.5-year commitment. And if you can't complete that, you can resign. So you're not really locked in.
Still got good feet to the fire.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for coming in.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I didn't even know we had an interview.
Yeah.
That was something that can be communicated.
My bad.
Did you guys know?
I apologize, I just got on an airplane and I'm still probably about 3,000 miles back that way.
Were any of the selectmen able to say if they were gonna make it tonight or no? They're all gonna,
Well, I know Kim is way out of town.
yeah,
I know, we did notify everybody, I didn't get any firm commitments, I believe.
okay. Okay,
I believe Tom works in Plimpton tonight.
okay,
My husband tried to get a hold of him several times today and wasn't able to, so.
okay. So basically, we know what the property tax is gonna be for the upcoming year. It's last year's number plus new growth plus 2.5%, which calculate out.
What is it, last year's number plus,
Last year's number plus the new growth number.
right?
It's a little more complicated than that, it's the levy limit.
Yeah, the levy limit from last
not
year.
the actual amount
Right.
that we taxed.
Right.
Because we left a
Right.
couple $100,000 on the table.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you want, and these are very, very much back of the envelope numbers, I did. So, well, some starting points, but not, like I said, they're.
Oh, this is another person.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we'll talk about
we have
that.
2 people?
Yeah,
Wow.
We have one opening?
we have one opening. Okay, Joe, you wanna walk us?
So go back, starting from, starting from the top, it's the levy limit, not the actual amount that we tax that we start off with. This board said out of 2.5, out of the growth, I talked to Karen, in the assessor's office. The 70 is the starting point, I'm not, it won't be any less than that, we can't promise anything more than that. In terms of what we can tax, we can add the debt exclusions for Silver Lake, the landfill, and the police station. I need to fill in the actuals for Silver Lake and landfill.
Yeah, Silver Lake's is supposed to be going down after they rebid.
We don't have those numbers yet, but Christina's working on getting those to us.
Okay,
Let's see. So we come up with a property tax limit, the levy limit, including the overlays. Hey, sorry. Yeah, too long a day, including the debt exclusions. Local receipts I bumped up from $25,000 from the numbers we put in the recap sheet when we were calculating the tax rate. The reason is that I continue running the rolling average of 12 months, so I know what we brought in over a 12-month period. And consistently, it's more than what we put in the recap. But, a little bit more, not a lot more, but my opinion is safe to throw in 25,000. But Everything else, the ambulance is the second largest amount we get.
Yeah.
Unless at some point we change the rates in the next few months. Those numbers have been very steady. There's no reason to increase them, and they wouldn't be materially.
It wouldn't increase them, they're going down every year. Ambulances
So-
going down every year.
So one of the,
Ambulance revenue has been going
so one of the,
down?
Well, it's
Is it a revolving thing?
down from where it was a few years ago. It's pretty much held the line since then, but it's not going back up. I mean, we were at 225 to 250 a few years ago. We're closer to 200,000 at this point.
Why would it go down?
Well, one of a couple of reasons. We're getting payments that we're getting so much in the sense of that since rates haven't gone down, we have at least as many trips. Probably the reason is those people who are uninsured, we're not collecting from, I guess.
Yep.
so one of the issues on that number is the fire study, and the fire chief were asking the selectmen to increase the rate of the ambulance billing, and it was going to be a significant increase. So one of the plans that the fire chief has is to increase staff for next year, and that money would be coming from, assuming the money could be coming from that increase in ambulance revenue. So that needs to be done at a town meeting to either change it so that the selectmen can set the rate, or change it so that town meeting changes the rate. So that,
So, is it in some way based on what insurance reimburses?
It should be connected with that, right? There's no reason to have the rates at a higher number than what the insurance companies will pay. While the fire department does send out letters for the remainder, let's say insurance pays $1,000 and you bill $1,200, they'll send letters to the ambulance user, patient, whatever you want to call it, for the other $200, but it's not a situation that, other than they'll send some billing letters, that they'll lien the property or anything like that. So usually, there's no, so in a practical sense, you should aim for what the insurance companies will pay.
Right. Okay.
so have either one of you looked at that increased number that the fire chief thinks that we're going to receive?
Well, I haven't looked at it in detail. The question is, and the problem is that since I don't have any real confirmation from him, and I'm not saying he's wrong, but the actual payments that we receive, in essence, if we had those rates today,
Yeah.
what would the insurance companies be sending to us?
Okay.
So that we didn't know what we have a better forecast than simply saying, okay, we'll raise the rates $500 for every person, there's 500 patients, buying, that's $250,000, done.
You can't just go by that though, because the rate only pay for a certain number of our runs. A large number of our runs are being paid for by Medicare or Mass Health, and they only pay a certain amount, and that's it. So even though we're raising the rate, and we'll get that from the private insurance company, so if it was me going to the hospital, my insurance company would pay the rate, because right now our rate is much lower than the surrounding
Yes.
towns, and they're paying the higher rates in the surrounding towns. So we know that will happen. But Medicare is not going to give us any more than what they're giving us now. And we have, do you remember what the
It's a
percentage
good
was?
portion, it's at least a half.
At least a half of our runs are Medicare. So even though the rate's going to go up a certain percentage, you can't count that whole percentage. And we don't know, from month to month, how
Right.
many runs are going to be Medicare or whatever. So yes, I think that the rates should go up, and I think it will definitely help us. But, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. You have to wait and see what actually comes out.
Okay.
So then the next line is the state aid, I haven't bumped that up at all. That's probably a little pessimistic, but it's, again, it might go up 1%, it might go up 2%. State revenues continue to do well, but they're not fantastic. So we'll probably see a little bit of an increase there. So, 1% though is only $37,000. We've got a $20 million budget. It's help, but it's $37,000 is only less than 0.2% of our entire budget.
It's a police cruiser.
So you take the tax revenues, local receipts, state aid, that's your gross. You take out the cherry sheet assessments, things like the county assessment, mosquito control, things like that. The annual amounts we set aside for tax title, the annual amount we set aside for abatements and exemptions. So now you have the amount that's available for raise and appropriate. Now, it doesn't include water and solid waste, we'll get there in a minute, but what we say call raise and appropriate really comes from those three sources: tax revenues, local receipts, and state aid. We don't tend to use overlay or free cash for for the operating budget. So I put zeros in there. It doesn't mean we'll have zero overlay surplus and zero free cash. It's just that when I'm doing this one sheet, I'm talking about the operating budget. I'm not working through the capital plan or how the capital plan is going to be funded. Traditionally, this town does not use free cash or overlay surplus to fund its operating budget. After that, throw in the water receipts, solid waste receipts, bond premiums, the dog account, water pollution abatement. Some of those amounts are standard. The water receipts and solid waste receipts are based on this year's budget. Since I'm not, what I'm trying to do is sometimes creating a wash, since I'm not increasing solid waste or water revenues, I'm not increasing their expenses either. If one goes up, the other one's going to go up. It's still going to be a wash. It won't affect the overall bottom line. So all those things put together, you got the total of all sources that are going to be available. Start off with the annual town meeting, Article 4, what we spent. And then start plugging in numbers, which in some cases are guesses. Some cases they're very, they're more accurate than others. I go to the Plymouth County, but Mayflower Municipal Health Group, health insurance meetings. I keep field track, not of our numbers, but of their numbers, since it's the overall 40 or 50 member units in there. And we're not doing well this year as we've done in previous years. We had 3 years in a row with no rate increases. The year we're in now, the towns and everyone else agreed to use the reserve fund that they had to help keep the premiums down. So the average premium ended up being somewhere between 1% and 2%. However, it doesn't mean that the health costs actually were only going to increase 1% or 2%. We're seeing large increases in the actual usage and how much the health group's having to pay out, which means, in fact, they're using the reserve fund to balance that off. Given that they're going to use a major part of the reserve fund the year we're now, if things go on the way they are, we might see something like an order of a 10% increase in fiscal 17 for health insurance premiums. Retirement increase is already set. That's the assessment we're paying into the system, so it gets fully funded, I think, by 2030. Special education change. I put that in simply because we know it's going to increase almost certainly. I looked at the increases from fiscal 12 to fiscal 16. They average about 6.5% per year. That's including tuition and transportation for these are the out-of-district placements. So that's a number. Somebody wants to say it's only going to be 2% or it's going to be 10%, fine, plug it in. I'm using the historical data that I've got available to me. If we have better data, that's great. But if someone said to me it's going to go down 10%, I might say to them, back it up. Same thing with vocational change. That, the percentage would be absurd. We went from $60,000 in 2012 to $150,000 in 2016. I'm just throwing another kid in there for $25,000. Maybe we won't know until
April 1st.
So.
So that's a total guess, it's not that we have names or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
But simply that we've seen increases in our budget every year now, so I'll throw in another trick. I'd rather be conservative that way than get us to 8.5 and say, suddenly we need to find $25,000. Working it backwards the other way is a lot more fun.
Yep.
So like starting point, we didn't vote a full assessment.
Yep.
We voted $100,000 less than our actual, forget about the ED account. When we were normally been assessed, we only came up with $100,000 less than that.
Yep.
So I gotta throw that back in.
To level fund for this year.
Right. Step increase, the wage increases and such, those, I don't know if I have accurate numbers or not, those are all approximates, but
That's elementary school?
then, well, I put in a step increase for the elementary school, I put their annual wage increase also, assuming it's maybe 2%. There was step increase for the town side, based on what we did last year, seeing we'll be able to refine that later on this winter. The annual wage increase, that's, no contracts have been settled or anything like that, whether it's for the union folks or wage and personnel. I just put in a 2% to match the school side, just as a discussion point. Doesn't mean that's what's gonna happen, simply, if someone wants to say, we're not gonna give anybody anything, fine, but I think there'll be a few arguments about that. So I plugged that in to make sure it's included in the discussion. So like itself, I moved the assessment up 2.5%. I can't assume that they're going to level fund their assessments. So whatever happens to their budget, I'm going to assume the assessments are going to go up. Reserve fund, we need to, outside of Article 4, we put money that's raised and appropriate money in the reserve fund, and we also put it from OPEB. And so that brings us down to about $200,000 deficit for this coming year, for 17.
Sounds familiar.
This is all back of the envelope, a lot of it's background, some of it's more certain than others. What's funny is it's the revenue picture that's far more certain than the expense portion of this.
Which is the way it is every year, because you can anticipate your increase maximum.
So, it's kind of, I'm kind of being more pessimistic than necessary, and I've thrown everything in. Where some years I decided I'm not going to do this first one sheet, but I said, I think we have to put all those issues on the table now and look at a worst case and say, where are we gonna be, and then say, okay, what are we willing to cut to get us back down to zero? Because, for instance, I think we've had a tendency for our wage and personnel employees and for even the town unions to say, well, we'll be last in line. We'll see what we've got available after we paid everybody else out, and then maybe we'll do an increase for them. I'm saying they need to be at the table along with everything else that's here.
Charlie, a quick question, maybe I missed it, and you said it, were you putting in the meal tax?
No. Because I'm not very pessimistic. Unless I wouldn't be putting meals tax in there until it's town meeting approves it.
Okay.
And even then, I think if that's going to be a point that you want to bring up, I think it's going to be interesting in town meeting how you want to handle this, because if you have a budget, an operating budget outside of OPEB, let's say, that you want the meals tax to fund operations, you're going to want to know how the town meeting is going to vote on that, aye or nay, before you get to Article 4.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it in figuring this year's budget. I would let it go to town meeting and see how the vote goes.
Unless you're going to use it for one specific thing like OPEB, where if you cut, let's say you said, I'll make it up, 110,000 for OPEB if meals tax passes, only 35 if it doesn't. Okay, if it doesn't pass, done. You cut the OPEB back down to 35 without affecting anything else. When I say that's where it should go, but you don't want to revise 29 line items if the meals tax fails.
Just one other thing to keep in mind is that the Social Security increase this year is 0. It's already been stated. So we're going to hear it from both sides of the table. So I'm hoping that the vocational drops by 25, because I believe we didn't have one student take that spot at the last school committee, so I'm hoping that drops from the 160 down to 130. 'Cause I
Haven't
think
heard anything about
you had,
it yet, so.
okay. Somebody recall? I was pretty sure that that's what, someone didn't go
This year.
yes.
That was the whole, like, debacle with the timeline, right?
Well, no, that was a different student.
Right, we didn't, I don't think that student was budgeted for.
That student wasn't budgeted for. But I thought at the elementary school meeting, they said that one student didn't go.
I can't recall.
Okay.
I think you're right, though.
I'll send a note to Joy and check in with her.
And then with special ed, so Mary Grable, is it Mary Grable or Mary Ann Grable? The new special ed. Is it-
Christine Grable? No, that's Chrissy Grable and Chris, is her name Christine? Grable, anyway, Mrs. Grable.
So she did a forum, a presentation at the elementary school and at Silver Lake discussing special needs costs. So there's also going to be a question of, does it make sense to spend money at the Silver Lake level to increase special needs programs at Silver Lake and possibly decrease the out-of-district vocational cost? But the way...
Vocational? You're not talking special ed?
Special ed. So her point was that if they created new programs in-house, it would be a lot cheaper than doing the out-of-district placements. But the problem is that there's no guarantee that the students that are currently placed out-of-district would come back. That's not something that the towns can require them to do. And one of the interesting things, when you looked at the cost, was Halifax is spending an enormous amount of money on out-of-district placement when you compared to what Kingston had for a population. Kingston spends more, but percentage-wise, Halifax spends a lot more money on the out-of-district placement. So it was a really good presentation, I thought, both at the elementary school and at Silver Lake, because there was a lot more information, especially after we had the meeting upstairs with the 3 towns in Silver Lake. I think it was a direct result to come back with information.
So would they spend less because they have in-house programs that cost them less, or because they happen to have a less needy population?
I think
Kingston.
the needy population is about the same, isn't it? Oh, Marie, that's her name.
Sorry. You mean Kingston side? So Kingston spends more.
Well,
But I think,
but you said they
well,
less percentage.
they didn't get into the particulars of which, they can't tell us which child costs this amount of money, but when you looked at the cost of how many students were being serviced by the cost, percentage-wise, Halifax was more money per student. So we
Per
must
student, okay.
have another placement that's a lot higher.
Unless we happen to have some needier students.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But
Well, it could be because Kingston has cheaper programs for similar students, or it could be because Halifax happens to have some students who are much needier and need to go to a school that's more expensive.
Right.
So I don't know.
So
I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what she said. but-
So if these programs are created, are they going to alleviate our share, or are they only going to alleviate Kingston at a greater proportion?
Well, are you
so-
talking at that older level or at the elementary school level?
So this was the thing that she started getting into, was
Yeah.
they could create programs under the Silver Lake umbrella. So it would still be out of district to Halifax, but at a much lower rate
For elementary school?
for elementary school. And they're talking about creating new programs at Silver Lake to service the students' needs at Silver Lake as well.
But there's no way for students who currently go out of district, we can't
You can't
force
require
them
them to come back.
in district if we're offering the services that they need.
Right. So that's kind of why it's a gamble that they're looking at. They're going to look at increasing the program there. They're going to try to do it with current staff that they have now, but they're also going to look at creating new programs to try to service more kids.
So we could expect this 6.5% number to be significantly higher.
Well, so you would,
What our hope would be is actually it's the other way around. The idea being that the 6.5 is related to the out of district. Kids we send out of town, both cost of tuition and transportation. However, there's a special ed budget in the in-town school section of the budget. If you look at
Yeah.
the line items for the school, the idea is, I'll make it up, it's $50,000 for a kid out of district. If we bring them in district, the average cost is 30. So you might save 20, but you'll see one portion of the budget go up, another portion go down. Your hope is that it isn't a wash, that it's a gain for the town as a whole.
I'm just guessing that there's going to be some kind of initial seed money that, for certifications, et cetera, that...
so there might be, so they're going to look into that. But what the idea was to try to lower the overall cost of the special ed education budget by bringing more programs in-house.
So is that a short-term view of a 1, 2, 3 year horizon, or is that a 5, 10, 15 year? Is the empire growing, is a rhetorical question.
So I think in a way the empire is growing, but I think when you looked at now it wasn't broken down by grade, how many students are in each grade, but it does appear to be that the number of students is an average across all the years. They might see bumps up. One of the things that they were talking about is some of the kids now are being diagnosed with anxiety disorders at age 3 and 4, and that's bringing up the cost of care. So kids are now getting diagnosed a lot earlier than they were previously. So we might see higher costs up front, but hopefully by going through the system, it would be lower costs later on.
So are there special schools for special needs children?
I think it depends on the level of need.
Is it just, okay.
But there absolutely are, some kids, yeah.
So where do the other kids go? They don't want to stay in Halifax? Like, say for a child who has anxiety, do they have specific anxiety schools, or do they just go to a different district?
I don't know.
That might have
I don't
like a
think people would be outplaced for
specialized-
anxiety.
No, not for
These are-
something like that.
no.
It has to be like a severe,
Yeah.
either a physical need that we can't meet or an educational need that we can't meet, but it wouldn't be something like the kid just has anxiety or whatever.
Okay.
Not if they're on the
I
autism spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Depending on
huge,
how-
so it
right.
depends on what point they're at, and if we can't meet what they need to thrive as a student, we have to send them somewhere.
Who decides
Yeah.
that? Who makes that
It's a
decision?
wicked process.
Yeah.
It's like a team that does
Okay.
it, all in the school.
Or like a committee? They like make a decision?
It's not a committee, but yeah, it's like the special ed team, they all sit
Yeah.
down and meet with each other, and the school psychologist, I'm sure, has something to do with it.
And the parents?
And the
and
parents.
stuff?
Parents,
Okay.
yeah, they develop like a plan.
Okay, okay.
And then they determine whether or not we can meet their needs at Halifax or Silver Lake or Kingston or whatever.
So say we do expand, the programs offered for special needs, would there be like another meeting with the parents to say, hey, you're going out of district now, but now we're offering these programs in district? Would you like to try our in-district program?
So I think that that's pretty much what Ms. Grable did in Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, I think she was before, and she developed so many in-house programs. She had a really great rapport with the parents.
Yeah.
I mean, they just loved her, and so they sort of took her advice and went with the programs, and it turned out that there was actually children from other districts being sent into the district, and so it can actually end up being beneficial thing financially for us in the long run as well. If we can provide a program that they can't provide in Pembroke, maybe
Right.
they would send their
Their
kids
kids
to
here.
us. And so, I mean, it could potentially be a cost saver in the long run.
Does she have an idea on the time frame that she expects to see some kind of net gain?
So when she came in, she said that the way that she's already found $40,000 of money to save. by the way, that the district is paying teachers and aides out of one of the grants somewhere, maybe you can, do you remember?
Yeah, so I forget what the grant's called, actually.
Circuit breaker.
No, it wasn't no, it was a different grant that pays, when the grant pays teachers, it takes the retirement money out of the grant, but when the grant pays aides, it doesn't. So what they were gonna do is shift, I'm not sure what the name of the line was, but what she said was by paying the aides out of that line versus teachers, they would save an additional $40,000. So one of my first questions was, well,
Where's
is
it
there,
coming
what,
from? Where's that 40,000 gonna come from?
no, it would
Saving.
be, it would be a savings, the $40,000 would be a savings to the district. You'd actually be able to pay more aides,
How are you saving money?
because,
I'm thinking that the money's just gotta come from somewhere else.
No, the money comes from the grant,
grant,
but the
yeah.
way it's spent is if she words it differently, like tweaks it, it ends up being 40 grand that they can put towards a program rather than towards retirement or something like that.
Right, but
But who's
what
responsible
he's
for the
saying
retirement?
is if the grant then isn't paying the retirement,
Yeah,
then the
Then-
town
right.
or the region will be paying
Right.
the retirement.
so that was one of the, so that was the one of the questions, no, so that's exactly what I was saying at the meeting, but she said she did this in East Bridgewater, and it saved them money.
The
So, but-
special needs, it's a, the
It's-
special,
yeah,
it's-
but where does that money that should be going into the retirement come from?
So,
it still has to go to the retirement for the teachers.
so that was my question, but she said that the way the grant was written, they were taking it out of the grant, where that money is not being taken out of the budget on the other side. She said it's the way the grant's written.
So is she saying that they're...
So is she gonna get more money
That's
from the
my
grant to
question.
pay the retirement?
She's gonna get more money to pay the aides. Because when you look at Silver Lake's budget, the retirement isn't the teacher's retirement. It's all the other, correct?
What?
When you look at the retirement number, like when you look at retirement over here, where is the retirement line for the teachers?
In the retirement.
See, I didn't think that it is.
Yes, we pay both, because it is, Gordon, because the treasurer's office pays both the Plymouth County and the Mass Teachers Retirement.
All right, so we need to ask her some more questions on it then. Because she said that,
Yeah, if you go into a meeting with her, let me know.
okay,
Yeah, that sounds like just moving around.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shell game.
okay. Summer, do you think you can set up a meeting with us?
I mean, I think it's a great idea, truthfully, because it will cost less than transportation and everything.
Yep.
too. But I don't know about that $40,000. I'm skeptical.
Right, I'm
No, I wish I
skeptical.
had the presentation with me too, but it's in my stack of papers.
So maybe,
I can ask
Sandy.
her to, I thought the presentation was fantastic, and actually it really benefit you guys to see it. So maybe we should, have her do it again.
well, we could just get a copy from Area 58 of the presentation,
Okay.
a link to the,
You want to?
a link to the,
We can email.
yeah.
I'm sure she
I'll
has
ask
the
her.
PowerPoint, so I can send you her presentation too, like the
Okay.
file of it, so.
Either way, but we can just cut that one presentation too.
Okay.
That way it could be sent to the committee.
So that, it was the same question that I had, where's the money coming from? So maybe Summer, you, Sandy, myself, and Ms. Grable can meet.
Like I said, I do think it's a great idea, and I do think it will end up saving the town money. But I just don't understand that part of it.
Okay. So the other item is that Silver Lake is starting to look at that budget too. So Kingston has said a level service, so just to let everyone know that that's what Kingston has said. So we will see a slight increase in Silver Lake because our population percentage increase is up 0.2%. So we also have that aspect as well. So that's probably 25 grand as well. On this year's budget. Does anyone else think of anything else? Can anyone think of anything else?
And the only other note I had is, does anybody know what the reserve fund is at?
So which,
Reserve fund,
so Silver Lakes or,
Charlie just has it listed as reserve fund for
Yes,
fiscal year.
that's an annual appropriation.
Okay.
that's the reserve fund for the finance committee. So it's 70, so we've been doing $75,000 for the reserve fund,
Mhm.
and then $25,000 for the water side.
It's part of the line items, bills, so it goes away at the end of the year. And we have to reappropriate it.
Okay.
So that's why Charlie put, so it's not like a stabilization where the money's there,
Okay.
and we'll just put more into it. This is, it goes away at the end of the year, and we redo it.
Okay.
Which then brings me to Charlie, if you put it on here, isn't it already included in the budget?
No, because it's not in Article 4.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, the reason, for the most part, we don't do raise and appropriate outside of Article 4, two exceptions, reserve fund, OPEB.
Are we negotiating contracts this year, or?
Yeah, 4 of them is a complete, start to finish, soup to nuts. The 5th one is wages only. We're, I think the selectmen will be meeting with the department heads for those departments. What would be the one meeting we're having in December? I think it's the 8th. Yeah, the 8th. We haven't started negotiations or anything. That won't happen until January.
Okay. So one other item that I'd like to bring up on the capital side of things is the school roof project. What's that?
Do you want the total of the reserve fund?
Oh, sure, if you have.
Mel, did you want that total?
No, I was just looking at it.
Yeah.
All right, it's currently at $68,250.
So I would like to see the school committee and the selectmen set up a meeting with maybe a member from the capital plan and the finance committee to talk about the project and where it's going, because the paperwork needs to be submitted in January, I believe. And if we're going to talk about doing the roof, doing the windows, the gutters, what is the project going to entail? And are we going to look at putting solar panels on it? And what's the engineering cost to do that? Because it's come up as a possibility of putting panels on that roof. So if we're going to actually look at doing something to the building, we should have everything in that. So
So I think there was some question as to whether or not the gutters were included in the roof project, and I think Joy was gonna look into that.
So I would think the sooner that we get a meeting set up.
Yeah.
So who's writing the grant? You're applying for a grant,
Oh,
right?
so the grant was, John Tuffy wrote and submitted the grant.
Yeah.
But there are two different kinds of grant, one's like a core grant, one's an accelerated grant,
Uh-huh.
and we applied for the wrong one last year.
Okay.
And so, this year, Joy's obviously taken over, and she's, spoken with the people, and you can basically use the same grant to reapply for the other one.
Yeah.
And, so it's not involved in like rewriting all of it, but she wasn't sure about the gutters thing, and there was some provision about adding windows, because I guess they're really drafty, and and we had this energy project going on, and so we were gonna try to tie them all in together, but last we left it, we weren't sure about all the other stuff.
So,
When is this deadline coming up?
January.
so
Okay. I have another comment. I was recently informed that there might be a restriction on grants for roofs and boilers for schools, that you are not allowed to apply for that grant again for that school for 25 years, so you should make sure that you're definitely,
it's 20 years for the roof. They did cover, Joy did cover that
Okay.
aspect.
I just heard about this, so I wanted to make sure that this wasn't something that people weren't aware of. So if you have a school that's aging and it's, not gonna outlast the roof, then it might not be the best decision. I hope that the school lasts forever, but I just wanted to throw that information out there.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, should I try to set up the meeting to try to get the selectmen, the school committee, the superintendent, and capital plan together? Because
Someone in the building committee.
And building committee?
Be included in that.
Capital planning too?
yeah,
Okay.
so I'd like to get that done as soon as possible. So Charlie, should I work with you or? Okay.
So are you guys gonna have contractors come in and give quotes, or do you have to wait to see what happens with the grant? How is that gonna work?
Good question.
I think this one, the state, we had the last major building project was, the schools were more than 20 years ago now. The state has really overhauled the whole system, and they want to be intimately involved in everything. So we do nothing. We don't go out for design, we don't go out for construction, we don't get to do anything without them being in on it.
So if they're giving us the money, they're gonna control the project?
To some extent, yeah. They're going to make sure that we do what they want us to do the way they want us to. They're not going to pick the people for us, but they're going to tell us very specifically how we're going to, if we want the money, how we're going to go through that process.
Okay.
And it's very, the grant funding website that I've seen from the Department of Education has been very specific about that.
Okay, so I'll work with Charlie and come in tomorrow and see if we can try to set up a meeting. Because if we're not gonna include everything, it seems like it's gonna be a waste. We're gonna be, if we're gonna do a roof and then go back and look for solar panels afterwards. Charlie, on the green energy grants side of things, green community, do you know if there's a possibility for including like the windows, to replace the windows over there, or?
Well, there's a possibility. The thing is whether it's going to be the best, most effective use of the money in the sense of the best return on the investment. That's what it's going to come down to. If it's going to be a 10-year turnaround for putting new windows in, then I can do better with the dollars we'll have if we get more in 3 years. I'm going to go with a 3-year project.
Okay. So, well, I think we need to try to get that meeting scheduled as soon as possible, because otherwise we're gonna miss the window.
Are we confident that the roof is gonna last another winter?
No.
I figured that was the answer.
We are leased now.
Wanted to ask.
We're not going to get any better. I mean, it's going to last.
The flat roof was sealed,
Yeah.
so that should last a couple of years. And the peaked roof, even though we have a couple of shingles that have fallen off, but it wasn't at the point where they said, oh, this has to be done tomorrow.
Right.
So I think it will last, but it's not blown away tomorrow.
No.
I just worry about the fact that it has been leaking. Is there damage like under
Yeah,
the building?
that worries
Under
me
the
too.
roof? Is it
Right.
rotting? Is there mold
Or
in
like
there?
down
Won't they
inside the
find all that
walls.
though, once they start ripping the roof up?
I think we need to know before they start ripping the roof up, right?
As part of,
I don't
as part of the
know.
estimate, I'm sure we're gonna do an interior structure,
I hope so.
especially if there's gonna be a solar panel. They have
Well,
to.
and that's like where I'm going with this, so if we throw a new roof on it, but like the foundation, well, not the foundation, but the foundation of the roof is, the building structure is starting to weaken because it's rotting, and we throw solar panels up there, like.
Yeah, it must be part of the process.
They would always do a structural inspection, and my sister had solar panels put on her roof, and they went in and actually reinforced the roof before they put the panels on.
Oh, okay.
So they would definitely look at that.
Okay.
So, anybody else that should be included on that list, to try to get everyone in a room? Okay,
I
so,
think that's everybody.
okay, because I want to make sure that we hit the deadline.
Building inspector.
Is he not part of the building committee?
No, he's not.
Oh, good call then.
Okay. So Pope's Tavern, I know that we approved a reserve fund transfer request for a grant writer. And we know there was $50,000 coming from the state for plans.
And the village committee's meeting and should have more information tomorrow, at their meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Do we think that the project's gonna make town meeting, or do you
Which
think
town meeting are we talking about?
the May town meeting, the annual?
Okay. I guess and when you say project, you mean for construction, for design?
Well, which aspect, I guess?
Well, because the idea right now is if we can get the state grant, that's not going to be available to us until late summer, early fall of 2016. And that's going to be for design work.
Okay,
So right now, if this town wants to move ahead with a project without state funding, then I don't know that they could get, they certainly could have sufficient information to go to a town meeting to say, we want an architect for this project to design the construction documents. There's enough money to do that. But that's where they would be in May of 2016. Then they can either do it that way, or you can wait and hope that we'll get the state grant, in which case the funding's available late summer, early fall of 16.
Didn't we already have an architect for this?
Well, the previous iterations we had was. And in fact, for Post Tavern, they had someone do some very preliminary designs. They want to use that same person to complete the preliminary designs. That's what
Okay.
we'll talk about.
So it's not like a full, they're just taking what they had already done and expanding it?
Correct, but
Okay.
these won't be construction documents. These will just be, sketches, let's call them. Ideas of what space might be available, how we would use the space, everything. It's not as if we know where the electric outlets are going to be, that type of thing.
Okay.
I think the idea is to have as much of that preliminary design and maybe a couple steps beyond that, but not construction documents, ready for submission as part of the grant application to get a full set of construction documents funded. But in terms of timing, the grant application will be in February. We're going to ask everybody to get the work done by the middle of January, and then we'll have to wait. We've applied for this type of grant before, not for the Council on Aging, but for housing rehab and such, and that's how long it takes. It won't be until August, let's say, that we'll find out whether we get a grant award or not, and then even if we do, it's not the next week we get a check or anything like that. It's a couple of months, and then we should start being able to spend money.
And that would be for the architect?
Correct. And then with the idea, whether the town goes it alone at this town meeting in May, or if the town gets funding from the state, the idea would be to get that money, get a set of construction documents, go out to bid in preparation for May of 2017.
Okay.
Assuming that we did have a special town meeting on the subject for just the building.
And the plan is to keep it where it is currently and expand it, or
Yes.
renovate it,
Yeah.
or tear it
And
down.
then there's no move towards purchasing a pre-existing building or building a new building, because both of those options are being examined by
Right.
the town and voted on. So we're looking at option 3.
Okay.
Okay. Any major vehicles and equipment that we know of so far? No?
I don't believe till next year. I think they have a truck for the highway department, I believe, and
Yeah, Bob's got a plan for at least, one large new.
and the other ambulance is scheduled for next year, I believe.
The other ambulances too?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
But not
In
for
front of
this.
me.
Okay. And no major road projects that we know of?
Unless we have another winter like last year.
So, fire study update. So, I've been meeting with Fire Chief Tom Hall, Maureen Rogers, John Pisa, Kim, and myself, and talking about increasing staffing levels and the ambulance billing increases. So the fire chief is going to be presenting to the selectmen at the next meeting. Charlie, do you know?
I believe so, yeah.
So he has a plan to present to increase staffing at the next selectmen's. And the idea would be that the funding for that increase would come from the ambulance billing revenue.
Is someone going to do an analysis
So
of these numbers for us?
So he has been doing an analysis, so I was hoping that he would share that with the selectmen and then share it with you guys. But if the selectmen don't buy into it's kind of pointless for
Right.
us to dig into his numbers.
Is the intent that the ambulance would be set up as an enterprise account?
No. No.
So it's a commingling?
Yep. The intent is that the revenue would increase enough to fund that position that he'd like to increase. More than.
Well, but it's more a matter of visibility when you have enterprise accounts. Just you raise X number of dollars, you can see it in that account, that then pays for, those people.
Okay. That was not.
But that isn't a part of it.
No.
Do you have any idea what percentage he's looking to increase the staff?
So to go to 3 firefighters per shift, so.
So 4 more full-timers,
Yep.
which brings us from 8 to 12.
Yes,
So a 50% increase in his staffing.
yep. No,
Yeah.
well, no,
Okay.
because it was gonna be 2 full-time guys.
Well, there were 4 shifts, 2 people on a shift.
So
Let's
what,
see.
so what he was looking to do is to add a full-time person from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. And that would shift, so it would only be 2 guys that he would be hiring, and having.
2 additional people
Two-
from
two.
what there are now?
Yeah,
So 4 on, 4 off, something on that order.
so,
But how is that different than what they have?
so right now they have 2 guys per shift.
Yep,
And then if the ambulance is out, then he calls back in to try to fill the station after the second call. So I don't want to get too deep into it, if he still does it.
I know,
But-
I'm not asking for intimate details about how it runs, but like, how many more hours, I guess, is he talking about adding?
So he's talking about adding 1 person per day for the
So
24
So like
hours.
8 hours a day,
12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 84 hours.
So that,
additional.
and then he's looking to
That's
fill the other side with a part-time or a call person. So the other side of that shift would be filled with not a full-time person, but a call persons to try to bring the call department.
So he's adding more than 12 hours a day?
Firefighters this time?
No, not call.
What does that mean? What's the
They
difference?
get paid.
They get paid, and they're required to be trained and paid for the training as well.
So why don't we have volunteer firefighters?
No,
You can't get
Well-
people to volunteer?
sorry, are you, in terms of volunteer, are you saying people who will do it for free, or are you saying call people who?
No, like towns have volunteer firefighters. You know what I mean? Like I saw a sign in Plimpton that said they need volunteer
Right, those
firefighters.
volunteers are paid.
Okay,
If they go and work a detail, if they go, or a fire or something like
Uh-huh.
that, they're paid for doing that.
paid as needed.
Yes,
Okay, so we have those?
yes, we have 20 to 25 of them.
Oh, okay.
So we have a full-time staff and a call staff. Go ahead, Charlie.
But that was
The challenge is this, let's say it's 9 o'clock in the morning, we've got 2 people down at the station, they go out on an ambulance call. Now we have nobody at the station. You can hope that if the second ambulance has to go out, that 2 of the call people will get to the station and go and pick up the next patient. Or you can hope that you'll have at least 1 person there and be able to run the ambulance and hope the second person will meet them, for instance, at 499 Plymouth Street to do that. It's really, it's a matter of how fast do you want the second call. It's in essence the same argument we had in 2005 when we went to 24/7. We only had daytime staff at the fire station back then. We had nobody there in the evenings. And we were seeing some miserable call response in the sense of how long it took for people to respond to for an ambulance call. And this town meeting and the townspeople at the town election, because we had to do an override to fund it, said, we're willing to take money out of our pockets to make sure that the fire station staff 24/7. The challenge now is, do we, and people are gonna have different opinions about it, but do we have enough second calls happening while the first one's still happening, that we want to decrease the call response times? Because it's either us or we hope that maybe somebody from one of the surrounding towns can respond. If our call people can't, that takes longer. But whoever's working that call, whether it's someone at the station working full-time or part-time, or a call quotation marks volunteer person, they all get paid. The benefit, if you want to look at it that way, for the call volunteer person responding only when there's a call, is you save money. On the other hand, the response time is longer. Having someone at the station, you spend more money, but the response time is shorter.
But what does the data say? Number of second calls?
So,
Well, I think
that's part of his presentation.
There's no short answer.
No, there's no, I mean, it's probably a short answer if you want to talk in cheap, but I don't have the data with me and I've not reviewed it. I really, I suspect that if we get to a town meeting, whether it's in May or earlier than that, for that discussion, he'll be willing to do a presentation, but he needs to start off with the board of selectmen, because that's who he reports to. The meeting's open to the public, it's going to be televised and everything else. So by all means, if you have questions, come on the 24th.
And then we are invited to come to that meeting to talk about the same, financial issues. So if you can make it, unfortunately, the selectmen couldn't make tonight, so if you can make next Tuesday at the appropriate time, then
Start at 7.
It's right here, 8:15.
8:15.
The selectmen's meeting is
That's
at
ours,
7, but
that's
the
our time.
meeting with the appointment with the finance committee is 8:15.
We have an appointment with the second next Tuesday?
Yeah,
Well,
so if you can make it, great. If you can't, when we tried to set this up earlier and it just didn't work out, so.
are we meeting next Monday? No, right?
No,
Okay.
Gordon, just to follow up,
yeah,
full-time position, 84 hours, the part-time position, do you have a number of
it
hours?
would be 84 hours. It would be the opposite side of the shift.
Okay, so 84 filled with multiple part-timers.
Yep.
And are those part-timers going to qualify for benefits or not? Do you know?
If they work more than 20 hours a week on a regular basis, then they would. My guess is, I don't know what Jason intends to do, whether he has 4 or 5 or 6 people that are going to run a rotation or something like that. Again, we'll talk with the selectmen on the 24th. I think
That's a good question, actually, because I don't know if, so in his data set that he did, he took all the information for what he thought the cost would be. I can just ask him to make sure it includes benefits if the guys work more than one shift a week. Are people able to make next Tuesday?
I'll be there.
I can't say right now.
Okay.
I'll try.
So,
Okay. So then just a review of the meeting with the 3 towns in Silver Lake. So I would like to set up another meeting with them after House 1 comes out, the week after House 1 comes out, which should be the 3rd week in January. So if we could meet the 4th week in January, does that work for everyone if we did the 4th?
Fourth Monday?
fourth Monday.
Don't we meet that Monday anyways then? It's the 4th?
I believe so. I just wanted to see if,
We meet every Monday.
so that would, actually it'd be the 25th, which would be Martin Luther King Day, right? Or is that always the third Monday?
Martin Luther King is the 18th.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we wouldn't be meeting that day.
But that's the 3rd.
Okay. I'm just gonna plug that into my calendar. So it would be the 25th then? So, anybody have any conflicts that they know of right now? None? Great. So I'm gonna set that up then. And they'll probably be here if we can do it.
Who am I sending the invitation to?
Would you?
School department.
So,
We were not happy. Like, we weren't invited, but.
so I would email directly to Joy,
Mm-hmm,
to Mary McKinnon,
yeah,
Susan Ossoff,
yeah.
and then to to Elaine Fury
Yeah,
as the chair, Mark Russo is the chair of Plimpton,
yeah.
and Kim's the chair here. Or if you have the administrators, if you have their emails.
I'd have to find out Halifax's administrator, I don't know who that is.
You were sending one to Joy, you were sending one to the chairman of the regional. school
Yeah, what about-
commission?
So,
What about Silver?
so John doesn't have email? John does not have email.
John who?
John Creed.
So who should I send it to on Silver Lake so that,
So would you, in the email, please inform the school committee of this? I would put in the email.
Joy?
is there anyone else on the school committee that I can send one to?
Who's the vice?
Paula Hatch is the vice chair.
Send it to Paula. And ask her to extend the invitation as well.
Okay.
And then,
Doesn't cost anything more to add some more names in the CCs.
All right, and we're gonna do that on January 25th?
yep, about 7 PM? How about 7:20?
15?
7:20, that way,
7:20,
well, that way we have 20 minutes if we have any business that we need to get done.
right, which is why I put them in at 7:15 last
All
time.
right, 7:15 works fine too.
7:23.
Well, I'm gonna be at least 3 minutes late to the meeting, so.
Can we just make it 7:30?
No, 7:15, that's fine.
So that when you come in 10 minutes late.
I was on time last time, and I even had printouts after the.
All right, 7:15, Great Hall. Okay.
Tri-Town with Silver Lake.
Same invitation?
Discussion on House One and implications on budgets.
Discussion on house lawn?
House One?
I was like, house lawn? Come on, my house lawn does not look
You
very
might want to
nice.
consider.
House one and what?
Weather date.
Oh, yeah. All right, so why don't we try to keep it the same week? Which night works for everyone? If it's not a Monday. I believe Kingston meets, their finance committee meets on Thursday nights. Would Thursday night work? See everyone shaking their head, obviously, yes. So a rain date of the
Fantastic for me.
Thursday,
The 28th?
the 28th.
All right, it was discussion on house one and
Budget implications.
budget implications. Okay. For FY 17.
So would we be meeting at 7 then?
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't be meeting Monday. But we would be meeting Monday. Yeah.
Well, if we're snowed out, then we'd skip the Monday and just have the Thursday.
If we're not snowed out?
We just have the Monday. It's just a inclement weather date. Anything else
Has there been any follow-up with the selectmen reaching out to other towns on regionalization?
I have not.
I am going to be meeting with counterparts next week. It's Monday or Tuesday. to start
It's a
that
sexual
process.
harassment policy.
Okay.
Sign it here.
So that's good. That's a good outcome. So hopefully there'll be, do you know what you're meeting discussing? Is it IT or just like everything?
It's super nuts. Well, I mean, I'm not going in, I don't think anybody else has any preconceptions about what we could or couldn't do.
Okay.
I think there's a couple that aren't gonna happen. Carver's not gonna become part of Silver Lake, for instance. But other than that,
One other item to talk about for the upcoming budget would be a possible vote on Kingston purchasing a piece of land from Silver Lake to build a new police station on. So at the Silver Lake meeting, they formed a team to negotiate with Kingston. So Kingston's looking to purchase a piece of land from Silver Lake to build a new police station on.
Are they adding a police station or
They would be
moving their
they would
police
be moving
station?
their police station.
What would Silver Lake do with the revenue coming back to it from the sale of land?
I don't know yet. And all three towns would have to approve the purchase and sale. So I don't even know where on the piece of property they're looking to buy at this point in time because there was no presentation at the meeting. I just know that they set up a negotiation team.
But hypothetically, that would be some capital money to them.
Yep. Summer, anything on budget side that you can think of from the school?
No, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
The biggest thing is the roof. But that's capital, that's not part of our budget.
So other than trying to get that meeting set up, which I think we need to have like ASAP.
Post-haste.
I mean, I personally would like to also have a meeting like throughout the budget process with the school committee and the finance committee.
That's a great idea. More
I,
communication is
yes,
better.
I'm all for more communication. I don't like the tug of war that goes on.
So do you want to set up like a timed appointment every couple of weeks or?
I don't think that's a terrible idea, honestly. I mean, if we could roll it into actually, my thought, well, actually, can I
So you guys
meet
meet,
my thought without bringing him to the school first?
What, day do you meet?
Huh?
What day
they
do you
meet
meet?
Mondays.
We meet the first Monday of the month. So I didn't know, like, maybe if we could roll it into a part of one of your meetings, or if it should be a separate meeting altogether, or, because sometimes I feel like the liaison idea is a good idea, but it doesn't generate a discussion. You know what I mean? So I think it would be better if we had
Sorry.
a discussion and more voices were heard on what was the mindset of the town and where the school thinks it's going, because sometimes I say things that the rest of the board doesn't agree with, and sometimes they have great ideas that I never thought of, so. I mean, we should be getting the first draft of the budget at our next meeting.
Yep.
In December.
Do you want to, what's our December schedule?
Just meeting on
The
the 7th.
7th.
So we meet the 7th. Oh, that's the same night we meet.
So it would just be a preliminary budget then, and we wouldn't have the budgets from anyone else at that point in time. And all the budgets are due the 4th, right, Charlie, the first Monday of the?
well, it's going to be the 7th, I think we're aiming for, it'll be that Thursday.
Okay. So how about an appointment with the school committee on the 11th?
Of January.
Yeah, like at 8 o'clock.
Oh, it's my birthday, dude.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, only because the 18th is Martin Luther King Day, and the next Monday would be
That's the
Tri-Town.
Right, yeah, I think that's fine, because that'll give us another chance actually to talk about it January 4th,
Yep,
and then we can all talk together
so we
on the
should,
11th. I think that's probably a good idea.
At what time?
8 o'clock, because we're gonna need at least an hour to go over where we are from the update spreadsheet that Sandy will have for us then.
Very optimistic.
I think that's what people always say about me, optimistic.
So, should we also invite the selectmen to that meeting?
Sure.
I mean, because
We'll be meeting with them, hopefully at the Tri-Town meeting, but do you know when the document has to be in? Because I'm kind of hoping
we're
that,
talking about the roof thing now?
yeah,
I don't know the date.
because basically that project needs to, have some rapid meetings over the next few weeks to,
I think it was,
like the
for some
first.
reason, I'm thinking the beginning of February, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
Joy would know for sure, so.
I think we need to get a handle on that.
So the sooner we have that first meeting,
Yep.
the better.
Okay. Maybe we can set that up for next week. If we're not meeting Monday, maybe we can meet Monday night. Feel free.
I think we need to adjourn before we add like 16 more minutes to our calendar.
Sending one invitation.
So do you want to do the meeting with the school committee after each one of your meetings?
You're having me?
Yes.
Say that, do the meeting.
So you guys meet on the 4th, do a meeting with you on the 11th in January. You
I see what you're saying.
guys are meeting on the 1st, do a meeting with you the 8th of
Okay.
February.
Yeah, so you're doubling the school committee's numbers of meetings.
It's budget season.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're doubling.
Come on, be good.
We're gonna be here. If they have as much fun as us.
Okay.
I mean, we can ask, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but then the
I
next,
can just put it in there, and then we can always take it
As a
out.
placeholder, yeah.
yeah.
All right, so second Monday of each month,
They're gonna love me.
right?
Starting when?
Starting in January.
Oh, January, okay.
I just, it baffles me that this is not, hasn't been like a regular thing going on.
I think it's a good idea.
So I had, well, whatever, we'll talk about later. I have another idea, but I'm just not sure where I should put it anyway, I should start running my mouth then.
Okay. We have one of the assessors with us tonight, Mr. Chavon. Anything that you'd like to comment on?
Will come in any of our meetings?
Which night should we schedule you for?
I will get to Reverend Senator. And I will talk to the principals. And I'll see you in the, increase in my budget. Should be low, as far as I know.
Okay. When do you want to discuss the meals tax? It's not on the agenda for tonight, so, but it is sort of, when we talk about revenue. Well, do we want to include
I
it?
thought we did that.
We said it before.
Are we going to take a vote and say that we want to ask the town meeting to approve it?
I thought we did this already.
I don't think we took a vote.
We had a discussion the night that you weren't here, and then we.
Oh, yeah, I was there. I was there, we talked about this. We did.
It's the point where just an article is drafted and we approve that article? Yes or no?
Well, I would think if we're gonna sponsor the
We had
article,
discussion while you weren't here. That's what happened.
how many line items, how many things was I assigned at that meeting?
We were all in favor of the meals tax, right? We
We did not take a vote.
We did not take a vote. We did
But
not
we-
take a vote.
We all commented, and I think we all kind of thought it was a good idea, but we agreed to not take a vote because Gordon wasn't there.
We should take a
Right.
vote.
How much is it?
Well, I think the discussion,
What is it, point? I can't remember, what is
it
it?
can go up to 3/4%.
Which means $76,000, was that the number?
It would have been 82,000, am I correct? If it had been in place.
That's pretty small.
It's very small and a lot of.
I thought you were gonna say like 7%, I was like,
You won't even notice it.
It's,
Other towns doing it now. We have questions about.
All the towns surrounding us have it.
Who puts it on the warrant?
Do they? I don't know. You never look at a receipt.
The finance committee, or the selectmen, like who actually puts it on the warrant? These are the questions
So-
I had.
So then this is an item to bring up with the selectmen
Yep.
on Tuesday. So is there a motion to ask that an article be placed on the warrant to support the meals tax at .75?
75. I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Kendra's choice in a second.
Okay, whose name is yours? Okay.
Any further discussion? It should bring in $82,000 worth of revenue. Okay, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Passes.
Okay. A couple of the other questions that came up was a possible forum for townspeople to inform people before
Town meeting.
town meeting.
So we've talked about that previous few years of having a
Yeah.
meeting before the town meeting. But usually our budget's so in flex.
Well, also they said something
No,
about
about the-
restaurant owners.
Right, about the meals tax specifically, so that people are aware of what it is before town meeting.
But they want to know possibly who should be included, like where do you draw the line? Should, you should go as far as like Cumberland Farms, Stop and Shop?
Well, anybody that pays,
Or,
Right, but we didn't know.
I thought the state kind of dictates,
Oh, they do, but we don't know the answer, right?
that's just.
Right.
I didn't get that from the state as to who would be included.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody knows.
Charlie, no?
And it looks like, according to my notes, Charlie was not here.
we know, we know how much it would be collected, I don't know that, I'll ask the state whether we can get a list of the venues.
Okay. So list of vendors that would be collecting the meals tax,
Well, no,
state collects
the state does it.
but in town.
But like the
Yeah.
names of the businesses, so we could invite them to a forum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And that would take place in April, May? Sooner, later?
Probably close to town meeting. April, maybe?
Yeah,
End of April?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else from the 3 towns in Silver Lakes meeting? Kendra, do you have any comments as a member
No,
of public?
I have no comment. I'm just looking back to the meeting that you missed.
I don't know what you want to do about the 10 towns, I don't think I've gotten anything back from you yet.
From the 10 towns.
I gave you all data a couple months ago.
I'm gonna look back and see what we talked about here too.
So was that an update, Charlie?
Yes, I was gave you a recap of the figures based on all that latest data. I think I said if you want to go with 8, here's your 8. If you want to go with 10, here are my recommendations.
Yeah. I'm gonna put that on the agenda.
Yeah, I put that on the agenda to review.
Briefly.
I think we should quote while we're at it.
Come on, you guys love being here.
I'm just remembering the first year we did the 10-town thing, what did that take?
Well, it shouldn't take a long time, it should be pretty quick. Charlie looked at the information, should be to vote to
Yeah.
accept his parameters and see what the towns are. Everyone signed the sexual harassment policy tonight, so the only one that hasn't is Linda.
Yep.
We just did the calendar. If you can make the meeting next Tuesday, please do so. Next meeting is Monday the 7th.
So, as far as people applying to be on the finance committee, there's another person?
Yes, so
Do we have a scheduled interview with that person, or are we planning on interviewing
We don't
another
have
person?
one yet.
So we should interview that person before we make a decision on Ed,
yes.
probably, just.
So do you want to see if we can schedule her for the 7th?
Yep.
And,
She has checked off quite a few other committees on there too, so
okay.
I'll get in touch with her.
The capital plan is full now?
Right now it is, you have.
Two members?
There's 2 members at large.
So,
That's good.
so we had said that we were going to try to move people through capital to the finance committee. That was what we were going to try to do, so.
I think the 2 new members, though, and I had talked to Kim, and she had mentioned that they want to stay where they are for now.
Okay.
Because they're still brand new to the capital plans, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the same vibe that they
We're
want
gonna
to
stay
get
there.
their feet wet and
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can schedule that, and if anybody else wants to apply to be a member of the finance committee or any other committee, I'm sure there's tons of openings, and you can check the website. And I know Charlie has updated a list on the website, and just fill in the talent bank. Anything else? Anybody? Sandy, Charlie?
Stu? Just saying.
I'm gonna pass the baton.
I was thinking it.
You were thinking about passing the baton to me?
I was thinking about Stu.
All right, well, I gotta go to bed, so I make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
second.
All those in favor? Aye. See you guys Tuesday.